What's up, Kyle's top 5 favorite listeners? My name is Kyle Kohler, and this is Kyle's top 5 favorite podcast. Before I get started, let me say to one very special listener, tell the guys I said hi for me. Today I'm going to talk about my top 5 favorite things that happened in television in the year that was 2016. Now, 2016 was kind of a weird year, somewhat of a taxing year for the human race as a whole. We had a lot of tragedies, a lot of big, terrible things happen, a lot of celebrity deaths. The whole election, Trump stuff was very emotionally taxing, I think, on us as a whole. But the one thing that was really cool, there were a lot of really great things that happened in the television world and in the entertainment world that were kind of new and fresh and cool and exciting, and I'm going to talk about those today. I'm also going to talk about some stuff that went on that I took notice of, some stuff that I was a little bit disappointed in, and some, obviously, my favorite things that happened in 2016. So, as we get into it, my number 5 favorite thing that happened this year in 2016 was my number 1 favorite thing that happened in television in 2015. That's right. My favorite show as a whole is Man Seeking Woman, and it in 2016 really delivered. Actually, tonight, as of January 4th, when I'm recording this, is the debut of the 3rd season of Man Seeking Woman. This show stretched the boundaries of what it can do last year. It really went to a lot of places and did a lot of things that I don't think a TV show has ever really done. This is a show that is produced by Saturday Night Live's Lorne Michaels. One of his writers, Simon Rich, based the show off of his book, Last Girlfriend on Earth. That book is so good, I've read it twice. But this year, what it did with exploring what a relationship can do to a friendship. So, which is something that we've never seen before. This show does things. It takes the impractical and the practical, the fantasy and the reality, and clashes them, and does it really, really well. It definitely reaches out to a demographic of guys who grew up with things like video games and cartoons and sci-fi movies and all that stuff, and really blows it out of the water. And this year, they really went above and beyond with the 6-episode story arc that was the Rosa storyline. And, we've never seen that. We've never known what does happen when, a girl gets in between a relationship of 2 hardcore, strong buddies. And it just nailed it. Things like the main character, Josh, trying to see if Mike, his best friend, and Rosa had slept together. Rosa and Mike trying to have the talk about being in a relationship, and her trying to break up with Mike and trying to get back together with Josh. It was just so well done. I've been on both sides of that. I did a podcast earlier this year about the show. Check it out. It's actually my most viewed podcast for some reason. And, it really dives into more detail about the show. But definitely my number 5 favorite thing that happened in television this year was Man Seeking Woman. And check out tonight, 10:30, and I think every Wednesday for probably till April, 10:30 FXX. So good. Really genre-bendy, genre-defying kind of television, which is always kind of my favorite thing. My number 4 favorite thing that happened in television this year was a little HBO web series called High Maintenance. Another one where I did a podcast strictly dedicated to this show. It was a web series started by the husband-wife duo Ben Sinclair and Katja Blichfeld. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It was a web series of 7 to 10 minute long shorts about a weed dealer in New York City. So good, so well done. And then HBO picked it up and made it into 22-minute long episodes. And the stories are so good. We don't know the main character's name, which is, I love elements like that. I love elements of shows where they say, hey, we're not going to show you who the main character is, or you're not going to know too much about him, and they leave a lot up to our imagination. Is so good and so well done. It paints New York beautifully. It shows so many different sides of what it is to be a pothead, stoner, person who likes to smoke weed, whatever you want to call it. And it shows the life of a weed dealer as a responsible human being. The guy Ben Sinclair's character is just a weed dealer. He's not a drug dealer. He's not a weird guy. It's his job. It's his gig. And he deals with a lot of stress, and he deals with family, and he deals with friends, and he deals with clients, and it's really well done. It's also really cool to see something like HBO embrace the web series side of things. I think HBO obviously is always pushing the boundaries of content, and for them to say, hey, we really like this really small web series. There's dozens and hundreds of these web series out there, but this one's really cool. We really like the story, and for them to be willing to go all in on it, turn it into a 20-minute show is so good. And, all the actors in it are phenomenal. And you can kind of tell it is very low budget, but yet still they do a great job as coming across as really well done. It's a small team, and they do it really well. Also, at the end of every episode, there's kind of an interview with Ben and Katya, which is just, it kind of brings everything together. It's really nice and tight and clean. This year was a tough one. We had lost a lot of wonderful celebrities, people like Bowie and Prince, and for me, a guy like George Martin, who produced the Beatles and all that stuff. And it was really good to have television be a little bit of an outlet for a way to kind of clear your mind of some stuff. And I had a pretty crazy year. I was exceptionally busy. But to be able to go, you know what, hey, there's really good television still being made, and I can kind of get into it. And that's going to lead me to my number 3 favorite thing that happened this year. Every once in a while, there's a performance that comes along. Every once in a while, there's an actor or an actress who you go, wow, what they are doing is truly phenomenal. I think about how we first felt about Dexter, Michael C. Hall's character, and some of the night of acting, and Tony Soprano. These are great character actors, and these guys come across and do such a great job. But this year, we saw someone take acting to a whole nother level. And that was on the show Baskets. We saw Louie Anderson play Zach Galifianakis' mom, Christine Baskets. And my goodness, what a phenomenal performance. It was so good because you're watching the show. Louie Anderson shows up in about halfway through the first episode. You see it, you go, whoa. That's Louie Anderson as his mom, and then it's right back into the show. You don't ever sit there and think, oh, that's weird, or it never felt weird. It was always, oh, that's his mom. And Louie, I won an Emmy for it, and rightfully so. He was so great in it. And it's cool to see Louie Anderson get rediscovered, have his career get revitalized by Zach Galifianakis, Jonathan Krysell, who was the director, and Louis C.K., those 3 guys created this show, and for them to go, we want to bring on an 80s, 90s comedic icon to play a woman. And with everything going on with the trans community and all this stuff, to not see Louie Anderson play a trans character, but he played a woman, and he did it so well. He reminds me, I have 4 aunts. My mom has 3 sisters, and they remind me, Louie Anderson's character reminds me so much of Christmas and holidays with my family, just the kind of overweight lady who's so sweet and so nice, but, is a little bit passive-aggressive, but doesn't have a mean bone in her body. It was so well done, and it was so refreshing to see an actor take his craft, or her craft, to that next level of transcendence, to be beyond what we are usually used to seeing. My number 2 favorite thing is going to start broad, and then I'm going to bring it down nice and tight. Obviously, binge watching is going to be a thing that we all love to do. I know I do. I think that it's funny that in like the 70s, you went on a binge, man, you barely made it out alive. It was always a lot of cocaine and hookers. Now in 2016, 2017, and the 2000s, when we binge, it's, man, I just watched 4 seasons of Breaking Bad and haven't left my house in 3 days. That's our binge now. And obviously at the apex of that is Netflix. And Netflix brought the fucking heat this year, man. With shows like Black Mirror, Love, Next, Narcos, Lady Dynamite was a great show. The OA is great. They really upped their game and gave a lot of useful and wonderful content to their subscribers. And that all culminated with That's right. Stranger Things. God, this show was so good. Such a nostalgic throwback feel. The creators, the Duffer Brothers, did a wonderful job of making all of us feel like, man, we are back in the 80s again. And the kids were phenomenal. The adults were great in it. Everybody acts their ass off in this thing. You don't recognize anyone except for a couple of the adults. You obviously know who Winona Ryder is. But it just shows up, and the best part about it is there was no promotion. No one knew this thing was coming. It just showed up one day, and everybody took the whole country by storm. I think that it was one of the highlights that the country had to look back on in 2016 is go, hey, 2016 was a weird year. It kind of sucked, but Stranger Things was awesome. I'm worried about the show. I don't know how it's going to do in season 2. I think that the hype train might be a little too much for it, but we're going to see. Man, it was so good, so well done. Made you feel that old E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, those kind of throwback Spielberg, John Carpenter, kind of great 80s movies with that synth intro and all that stuff. And it still had that childish wonderment side of it and was so well done, so good. Stranger Things, obviously one of the highlights of the year, and comes in at my number 2 favorite thing. A couple of honorable mention things that happened this year, just off the top of my head. I thought that Insecure was cool. Atlanta is cool. I watched Fargo, and I liked the first season better than the second season. The second season came out this year, but the first season, exceptional. Better Call Saul was kind of a dud this year. Saturday Night Live, you had the opportunity to really hit a home run with all the Trump stuff, and I feel like it falls a little flat. And stop acting like you hate the guy. He brought you your highest ratings of the year. So I think more you should embrace the fact that he's this villain and not try to paint him as such a villain. Just let him be that. So 2016, kind of a weird year in the pop culture stuff, but I think there was one show that really summed it all up and had a tone that fit the year.
I'm okay the way things are. I pull my stool up to the bar at Horace and Pete's.
It was a Saturday morning, and I wake up, and I get an email from Louis C.K. Not me personally got an email, but he sent an email out to his followers saying, hey, guys, I just put out this show. No one knew this thing was coming. No one knew what it was. It was just said Horace and Pete. So me being an avid Louis C.K. fan, I downloaded it immediately and watched it and had no idea what the hell I just saw. This show is everything that we're going through as a human race. It has the generation gap. It has kind of the cultural differences. It has political satire. Has everything that we as a human race are facing right in front of us, and no one does it better than Louis C.K. On top of that, the guy funded the thing, paid for it himself, owns it outright, put it out on his website, did no promotion for it, sold it completely to his users. So he cut out the middleman completely. And if you can't respect that, I mean, that's phenomenal. That's something we've never seen before. He had home run hitters up to bat in this thing. Guys like Steve Buscemi, Edie Falco, Alan Alda, Jessica Lange. And I'll tell you what, Laurie Metcalf's performance in the third episode is some of the best acting I've ever seen. He had Paul Simon write the intro. He also did a great job letting younger comedians, guys like Mark Norman and Lisa Traeger and Adie Bryant and Kurt Metzger, younger New York comedians, just kind of be on the show and be themselves. And he's so good at just creating and producing and directing and writing. He's the best in the business at it. And like I said, I think that Horace and Pete was such a wonderful, it just summed up 2016 so well. It gives you that uneasy feeling, but yet there's hope, and yet there's not hope. And it was so good and so well done. And to see someone say, hey, I'm bigger than a TV network, I'll just do this thing on my own. Netflix or FX or HBO would have gladly funded the thing, but they would have wanted to have say in what goes on. And Louis said, no, dude, I want to have complete control over it. And he did such a great job at it. So that's absolutely the best thing that happened in television this year. So that's it, really quick. Thank you so much for all of my favorite listeners. I appreciate you guys. And we'll see you around. Have a great day.